What's up, baby? This your boy, God, and I'm the CEO of BloodSweatGod Apparel, baby, and Prolongevity Fitness. And thank y'all for tuning in today. The question for the day is, what athlete wins if they train in extreme heat or extreme cold? Now, again, extreme heat, extreme cold. So we're going to go ahead and get this out of the way. If someone trains in extreme heat, faces somebody that's been training in extreme cold in their environment, which is extreme cold, this person that is training in extreme heat will be at a disadvantage because, again, their body isn't acclimated to extreme cold. And cold weather affects you completely different than hot weather. And the same thing in reverse. If this individual that trained in extreme cold went to another person's environment in extreme heat, they would be at a disadvantage as well because, again, their bodies aren't adapted to each weather environment. And check this out. Each environment will affect you completely different. So again, each environment will affect you completely different. So now, since we have that out the way, since we know that if someone traveled to another person's arena without training in that environment, you would be at a disadvantage. So literally, it just depends on who went where. But again, you would be at a disadvantage. So more than likely, you would lose unless you were just extremely built different. Now, we're going to say, what if these same two individuals, right, train in extreme heat, extreme cold, then face one another in premier situations, like not too hot, not too cold, the ideal weather. I mean, like the wind is blowing, it's sunshine, but it's not hot, it's not humid. I mean, really just the perfect day to race. So first, what I'm going to throw out there, right? We're going to say death-like situations. The ability for either one of these individuals to experience death-like situations. This would give each one of these individuals an advantage. Because experiencing death-like situations, right, will put your mind in a completely different place when it comes to preparing to face someone. So again, each one of these individuals are me, but different. But we're going to discuss the extreme cold individual because obviously I have experience training in extreme cold. So we're going to say back in 2014, right, I ran a Spartan race, which was in 30-some degree weather, freezing weather. I had no shirt on. We had 20+ water obstacles. I even had to swim across a river. Now, on mile 4, the weather was so extreme. I was so cold. My body, mind, and spirit was so broken. I looked at the guy and I told the guy to call the truck. And the truck was the people that was going to come back and give me a ride to where my family was waiting on me to finish the race. Now, here is the ultimate fact. My feet felt like concrete blocks. My fingers, I couldn't even feel them. My teeth clicked together so much, my jaws was sore for an entire month and a half or 2 after that race. So at that moment, my body and everything was shut down because, again, I had never been exposed to that level of cold. However, someone came along, put my mind back in the right place. I finished the race. At that moment, my level of endurance, right, to not feel pain quadrupled. So I became something completely different once I finished that race. Because what had actually limited me had now become something I had overcame and defeated. So that in itself made me a stronger athlete. mentally, physically, and spiritually, without a doubt. Now, during that time, I almost died, per se. Pre-hyperthermia was sitting in because, again, I was almost frostbite on my fingers. I couldn't feel my feet. My jaws was clicking together. I mean, it was 30-something degrees. My body was fighting to stay alive. So that in itself built up my endurance, which is my ability to not feel pain, the ability for me to run to a rope climb, right? Not even knowing that my fingers wasn't even inserted in my gloves. That's how numb my fingers was. So again, cold, right, weakens you 2 to 3 times under. My feet, as I was running, I couldn't even feel them. They felt like concrete blocks. The whole point that I'm making is, literally, I was at my worst of my worst ever during this race. Nearly died, literally nearly quit. But again, my ability to keep going and earning those extra points, right, to put me in the right place mentally, physically, and spiritually for future races and future events. So let's take a look at the guy in the extreme heat. Again, me again. So let's take a look back in 2015. I woke up one morning and it was about 90-some% humidity outside, and the weather was 90-some% humidity, and the weather was about 80-some, 90-some early in the morning. So literally, it was already humid. It was difficult to breathe. I didn't drink any water because, again, I trained myself to be strong when I'm weak. So I didn't drink no water, so I ran 13 miles extremely fast. I dropped about, I'm going to say 8 to 15 pounds of water. Once I finished running, I went from there straight to the gym. I did about 4,000, 5,000 ab reps. After my ab reps, I did a killer upper body and lower body session. Then I did an hour, hour and a half cardiovascular session, which is a routine that I created for myself. Once I finished that, I sat in the sauna for about an hour or two. Once I sat in the sauna for about an hour or two, again, I'm in there losing water again, and I still haven't drank any water. So I swam about a mile, mile and a half. Once I got done swimming a mile and a half, I get back in the sauna. I sit again for about another 30 minutes to an hour and a half. Once I come out the sauna, something hit me like has never hit me a day in my life, never hit me a day during my training. Literally, I could barely breathe. I was taking deep breaths and I couldn't really catch my breath. So I'm breathing deep. So I sit down on the bench in the dressing room. So I gets up, walks out. As I'm walking out to my truck, I still notice I'm breathing hard. Still breathing hard. Like, again, this is something I haven't ever experienced. Like, I mean, out of all my years being in the military, training, all this stuff, I've never experienced this. So I gets in my truck. As soon as I get in my truck, my entire body start vibrating. My body is vibrating. I'm like, literally, again, I'm about to die. So I'm driving. I get on the highway, right? So as I'm on the highway, I'm thinking like, my body vibrating. I can barely breathe. I'm like, I'm dying. I say, you know what? I don't want to die and kill somebody else with me. So it was a CVS right up the street. So I pulled in CVS parking lot. I didn't even pull into a parking spot. I left my truck in the middle of the actual driveway with the door open. So I was like, you know what? I don't want to die alone. So I say I'm going to walk into CVS. So I peep around the corner. I look into CVS. It was about 3 people in there. So all I had on was some dry fit tights and nothing else. Dry fit tights, no shirt, no nothing. So I walk into CVS and I scream, I need water. So again, it goes back to when you train, right? When you really know your body, when you really know what's going on, when you start experiencing these, I would say, negative side effects, right? You know what you need. So in my mind, I knew I needed water because what did I already deprive myself from? You see what I mean? Simple. So I already had deprived myself from water. So I goes in, I need water. I'm screaming, I need water. And the guy points to the back. Again, I'm vibrating. I mean, everything is off. I'm not hearing nobody, literally. So I walks to the back. I drank my water. As soon as I drank my water, the vibration quit. I come back to my senses, like literally everything just come back to me being normal again. So I walk back up, I look at the guy and I say, you know what? I say, I'm sorry what just took place. I did all this training, and the guy looked at me and was like, you be safe out there. I called my wife, tell her that I almost died, this crazy catastrophic event. But check this out, I gotta be at work in like 15 minutes. I'm almost dying right now. I called my wife and said, hey, meet me at my store with a smoothie. I go home, take a shower real quick again. Almost dying. Shoot to my store, my wife meet me with my smoothie, and yeah, that was it. It was a wrap. But again, at that moment, it goes back to the same guy that I was when I almost died training it, racing in the extreme cold. Literally, I was dehydrated, you know what I mean? No fluids, I was overheated. It was a number of my heart rate was skyrocketed for all the intense training that I did. I'm more than likely, I was fasted as well, no food in my body. So literally, I had all this stuff going against me. So again, at that moment, I didn't die, right? So just as this guy that trained in the extreme cold, again, my mind, body, and spirit doubled or tripled or quadrupled in the extra points and the gains that I acquired from not dying or whatever was taking place with me, right? So I got all those gains. So my endurance skyrocketed. My heart rate, ability to send oxygen-rich blood throughout my body skyrocketed. My heart ability to send blood to my brain skyrocketed. My ability to be more mental focused skyrocketed. My alertness skyrocketed. Everything that I did or that I could acquire at either one of those moments made me a better just person all around, or athlete, or as a coach as I stand in front of you right now. So each one of those things made me into a better athlete, right? Because again, just like anything, pressure, right, brings out the diamonds. So extreme cold, extreme heat. Worst of the worst, check this out. Either one of these persons, right, check it out. The heart still has to send quality oxygen-rich blood throughout the body. And the body still has to adjust. Again, the heart has to adjust for extreme cold. The heart has to adjust for extreme heat. The brain has to adjust for extreme cold. The brain has to adjust for extreme heat. Everything, the liver converting food into energy, right? All of this stuff has to still take place. But check this out. The body is doing it more efficient now because I allowed myself to be nearly broken. So that's how I became better. So yes, most people don't know when you're in extreme cold training, right? When you're in extreme cold training, you basically lose, I'm going to say at least 2 to 3 times your strength. How I know I experienced it. You won't be as strong as you normally would be when it's extreme cold. Cold weakens you. Now, here's the plus side though. Once you become adapted to the cold, what once weakened you now actually makes you stronger, because now you're actually fighting against the cold to still maintain the gains that you've acquired. So you're actually training and getting more gains at least 2 to 3 times over than the person who's not training in extreme heat or in extreme cold. So whether I train in extreme heat or extreme cold, I will still be better than the person that is not training in either one of those environments. Now, another thing that happens when you train in extreme cold, you don't sweat as much. But again, just because you don't sweat as much still does not mean that your heart is still not working at a high level. So when you get in premier situations, just check this out. Your heart is still gonna pump efficiently. Because again, it had to adjust to the extreme cold. So your body still adapted to work more efficiently in those extreme situations. Just like the individual in extreme heat. Now it goes back to extreme heat. You got to be even more precise. You got to know your weight. Because now, like for me, I weigh myself before I run in the summertime or anytime so I'll know how much water I have to lose, right? So I won't become dehydrated. I basically do all these things to ensure that I stay my best during this situation that I could be in. Now, again, when you train in extreme heat, you got the heat against you, right? So if you're not hydrated efficiently, that'll go against you. When you train in humidity, the same thing. If you're not hydrated, that'll go against you. And neither one of these people can still run at their normal speed starting off in either one of these events, right? Or environments. However, again, over time, you adapt and you get better and your body acclimates to the extreme heat or the extreme cold, meaning that when you're not in the extreme heat or extreme cold, it's like a resistance that's against you. So now, when you're in a perfect situation, ideal weather situations, guess what? Both of these individuals will still be performing at optimal levels. So, theoretically speaking, we're going to say, as of right now, that if indeed each one of these individuals face one another's, right, based on everything that I just stated, right, just on the facts that each one of these individuals' endurance, because again, we're going to say both of these people fitness is on the same level. Speed, strength, everything is on the same level. So, basing it off that, their endurance, right, will still be neck and neck. Almost, really, I'm going to say on the same level. Because I told you everything I had to overcome being cold and everything I had to overcome being extremely hot, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how you swing it. When you're placed in extreme situations, both of these individuals will have heat shock proteins that surface. And you're probably wondering, what are heat shock proteins? They're microfilaments at the cellular level that mandate the body to repair itself at extreme rapid rates. Which again, I've done, multiple YouTube videos on it. Posted several videos on my TikTok account. So basically, both of these individuals' bodies are healing itself at extreme rapid rate. So a heat stroke or being hypothermic, none of that will take place because again, when you place the body on extreme levels of stress, enough microfilaments at the cellular level surface, right? And it mandates the body to heal itself at extreme rapid rates. So the battle of the beast, right? The individual that trains in extreme heat or extreme cold, right now, they're equal. However, what I am going to conclude, the person that is more mentally ready, because we could say, we could even base it off VO2 max, the maximum volume at which oxygen is sent throughout the body to the working muscles. And most of the times, and again, a younger person will more than likely have a higher VO2 max than an older person because just facts are with anything, we start declining over time. However, how we train, how we live our lives, the food that we eat, and all of this comes to play when it comes to how good our heart works. But again, the ability to train in extreme heat or extreme cold would also still mean that each one of these individuals' VO2 max will still be at optimal levels. Because again, they're working their hearts to adjust, right, to extreme situations. So their heart is already outside of its optimal level to maintain, to keep you alive. So even then, let's just say for, get grins and giggles, right? Just say if this guy in extreme heat, VO2 max, was higher than the guy in extreme cold. Even if everything else was on the same par, the guy in extreme heat with the higher VO2 max will win because VO2 max means that you will fatigue at a slower rate because your heart is sending more oxygen-rich blood but working less. Again, sending more oxygen-rich blood but working less. And again, this leads to a slower fatigue rate. But again, for analysis, we're going to say that each one of these people have the same VO2 max. But what is different and you can't train for is all genetics right here, baby. You're going to be mentally prepared, meaning that you're mentally prepared and your discipline is what's going to keep you in this race. So again, mentally prepared, meaning that the training that you've done has prepared you to face different events when they're unknown. That's what mentally prepared means. That it doesn't matter what I'm faced with, right? I've done everything that I can do that could give me a competitive advantage over my person that I'm actually competing against. My discipline, right, means that everything that I've actually done to prepare myself, I'm sticking to the plan. Like my standard that I set, right? I'm going to run this part of the race at this speed. I'm going to run each mile at this pace. I don't care where this guy's at. I'm sticking to this plan. Because again, discipline, right, means that you stick to the plan and you don't allow somebody to take you out of your race. Not out of their race, out of your race. Because even if this guy could take you out of your race, right, and make you run faster than what you anticipate, then that could cause you to lose the race. So again, being mentally prepared for whatever training that you did to prepare you to face different obstacles along the way. Then being disciplined to stay the course, do everything as you train, as you plan, to ensure that if something unexpected does happen that is out of your control, you're still in the fight. And finally, right, it comes down to who's hungrier. You can be the fastest man in the world. You can have the best VO2 max. But if you're not hungry for greatness, you'll defeat yourself. So again, if you're not hungry for greatness, you'll defeat yourself. So again, it comes down to being mentally prepared, sticking to your discipline, and being hungry for greatness. That's what will determine which one of these individuals will win. Extreme heat or extreme cold. So theoretically speaking, me being the guy that trained in both, and again, acclimated myself to both, I can still run in 28-degree weather with no shirt on, 13 miles in an hour and 20-some minutes. I can still run 30 miles in 30-some degree weather in 4 waves of rain and still get it done. In extreme cold. In extreme heat, I still run 20-some 30 miles in 108-degree heat. Still do the same thing, run 13 miles in an hour and 20-some minutes. So again, all of my training methods, whether I'm doing intervals in the cold, intervals in the heat, interval 1 mile, burpees, push-up, all this stuff, I've done them in both. And again, as I did this in both, it goes back to the individual that is hungrier is still going to be the individual that is going to come out on top every time. Because even me during training, what I must tell myself or find myself telling myself sometimes that if I'm not where I want to be, I'm not hungry enough right now. Because if I look back and I know where I once was, I know what I was doing to get me there. And I know what it takes to get me there. And I know what it took to get me back there. So again, you gotta be hungry. You gotta be so hungry that again, it's that discipline though. It doesn't matter how you feel or what you think is happening. You just do it because it's what you do. It's instinctual. And that's the difference between being good and being great. Like David Goggins say all the time, you gotta have that dog mentality. you just got to get out there and do it. Like, a dog is going to get it done, or a lion, like me, a lion mentality. A lion is going to wake up hungry and he going to eat. He don't matter what he got to do, he going to get it done. Even if he got to die in the process, it's going to get it done. And that's the mindset that you got to have when I say you got to be hungry for greatness. If you're not hungry, you're not going to put your best effort in. And anything great is measured off your level of effort. So the lower amount of effort you put in, guess what? The lower amount of results you're going to get. The least amount of results you're going to get. The greater amount of effort you put in, guess what? The greater amount of results you're going to get. So again, if you're hungry for greatness, it's going to determine that you're going to put in your greatest amount of effort, which is going to lead to greatness. And that's what I do every day when I wake up, whether it's extreme cold or extreme heat. I'm pushing because I'm hungry for greatness. So again, what will determine which one of these individuals will win? Mental intellect, baby. The mind. The mind. You take over a man's mind, you take over his body. So again, the mind, discipline, and whether he's hungry for greatness. So this is your boy, Lion of God. We determined that each one of these training regimens is going to put both of these athletes in the most optimal level to be their best that they can be. Because their body is adjusting and adapting to keep them alive, and which will actually expedite their levels of growth mentally, physically, and spiritually. But in order for one of these individuals to win, one has to have a stronger mindset, have a stronger discipline set, and be hungry for greatness. So I hope all of that made sense. And this is just something I wanted to put together that I thought it was fun for me to talk about. But if you have any specific questions after listening to what I was talking about, feel free to leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe, do what you do. But know what? I love y'all, man. I truly appreciate everybody that showed me love across all of social media, baby. And I'm out.